Here we are doing a tutorial for watercoloring your landscape. You're using photos, you're using light lines before you paint, you're using perspective by using a vanishing point, and diminishing sizes, shapes, details, and contrast, and you're overlapping. I forgot to give you the last one, and that is you need to use a horizon line. That won't show up, right? It might disappear, but there is a line on the horizon where your vanishing point belongs. Okay, what I'd like to start with your painting is talking about when you lay down colors in a watercolor. Some watercolors like to make really soupy kinds of washes. We're going to be making washes. That means we're putting big areas of color first, and we always start with the lightest colors first. So here's my crappy set of watercolors. Now these are the worst watercolors ever. Crayola makes just cheap stuff, right? I did go get these wet before I started my video, so so that they're ready to paint with. Sometimes they're hard and you can't get a lot of color out of them. You can find better watercolors than these, no doubt. Now you need to notice something. This is brown and this is black. Those are my darkest colors, but I'm going to start with my lighter colors first, and then I'll add my darkest colors later. If you want white on this painting, the only white you're going to get is the color of the paper. If you want a really light color, you can't add white to it to tint it. You actually just have to have a cup of water and lighten it up, okay? Now this tray is for mixing colors, so I'll throw some colors in there as I'm painting. I'm just going to start with a light or a bright blue at the top of my sky here, and I'm going to work down. Notice I've got a big paintbrush here. This is not actually a watercolor brush, but if you have a big brush, you're going to be able to do big areas easier. So I've got this blue here, and it's quite intense, you can see. But I'm going to take a rich blue. I can mix a blue here if I wanted, and I'm just going to go all the way across my paper. I'm going to even cover up my telephone poles and my tree and everything. I'm just going straight across the paper in rows, and this is watercolor paper, so it's going to stay better than any other kind of paper. It's got more sizing in it. And now I'm done putting too much blue in there. I'm going to just dip my brush in my water and start fading this down in rows. I'm going right over my mountains, and I'm going down to the horizon line, in fact, just with water, so that this all blends together from rich blue, my rich blue, down to my lightest blue. Now if this starts to pool up or something, that's okay. We want it a little bit soupy and juicy. Something that you can think about is when it starts to run, what can I do? Well, mostly I just need to be patient and let this dry. But I could use a tissue and just soak it up there. You just use a tissue and soak it up there. If I paint it over something I really don't want water on or color on, maybe I really wanted something white up in the sky like a cloud, so I can take that tissue and shape a little bit of a cloud, just dab it out. But these look like clouds anyway when they dry. Okay, so tissues are really great for that kind of thing. You need to be patient and let this dry before you go paint, say, the tree, which is going to be some darker colors or a green equivalent value over the top of this blue. So I've got another photo here, or another project here that I've got ready to show you where I painted, started painting some green in the tree. You can see I had some areas here where I wanted the sky to show through. I wanted the sky to show through there. So we're going to talk about the tree and how to paint leaves. So, you know, everybody's going to go towards that green for leaves. And leaves are not just one color of green. What's going to happen is you're going to have shaded green. Shaded, that means we added some black, or we added a dark color like some blue or brown, and we mixed it in, and we've got some actually shadows in those greens. So there's different colors of green. And this is just really splotched on there, right? Like you could stipple. My brush has some bristles here. I could just use the Crayola brush they gave me, which I don't love, but we could just use that and do some leaves like that. You know, and this is farther down on the tree, so there's bound to be some shadows. I'm just like you. I'm just trying this out, you know, so it's not going to be perfect, and I'm open to some mistakes, and not everything is exactly like my photo, but I'm working from, but I'm going to just do my best. So it's getting quite dark in there. I'm letting some things blend together. Maybe at the top it's not as green, but it's more yellow. So I can take my yellow and just start working some leaves up there. You know, fall colors are really easy this way, but we have some leaves that are overlapping. Nothing is the same shape because all of these are very organic. We talked about that. I'll throw some green back in there. I notice the light is reflecting off my paint, so it's hard to tell. But you're just gonna, you know, none of these shapes are perfectly symmetrical. Lots of things happening. I have some sky showing through, and this is why we painted the sky first. We painted the sky first so that we didn't have to go in and try and fill it in, and I don't have any white gaps everywhere showing up. Sometimes white gaps are fine, but I wanted to be able to show you how to do this without having to go and paint your sky in later. And that way your blue is the same, it's consistent across the sky, and you get the idea. So I could keep going, but now we're going to talk about the trunks of the tree or the branches. Now I've got a brown, but you know what? We can't just assume branches are all brown. I've seen trees that are gray. I've seen bark that's red. I've seen all kinds of things. So I'm going to water this down and just go over it. That's a little green. And how are you going to make this look like an actual branch or bark? Well, then we're dealing with texture. So texture comes about in a lot of different ways. But again, remember that thing I showed you with the tissue? We could just take this and create a texture, kind of a rougher texture with lots of different things, and it'll give us better texture. But then I still need a little bit of a shadow. So you have to decide, is the light coming from the left? Is the sun up above this tree? What's happening with that tree? So maybe I may take a little bit darker. I've got some brown. I could have some green shadows too. Often it's called local color. When the object is a certain color, then the shadows are going to be a shade of that color, a value of that color, that local color. But this is just kind of, I've decided that maybe the light's coming a little bit more from the left, so my shadow's going to be on the right. Now don't worry too much if you mess up. Watercolors can be messy, but as long as you've got a tissue or something close by, you can wipe some of it off, or you can come back and go over it with a darker color. And you're just trying this out. I don't expect you to be perfect at it, just like everything we do. We're just practicing and then moving on from there. Now I have other lighter colors possibly down here, like trees in the background. Those trees are going to be lighter than this one. I might have some wheat out in the fields or something that I want to paint. I'm not going to finish this just for time's sake, but I'm giving you the idea that you want to put dark colors over your light colors like this, and be very patient with yourself about what happens. Your watercolors may even bleed. So you see this is starting to dry now, and this is bled in there, but I can cover that up because it's in the tree. This is still dripping. I just need to be patient before I go paint over this, and things will be just fine. Enjoy it. Enjoy the process. You're experimenting. Who cares if you really mess up? I can also give you more paper if you'd like. Good luck and have some success learning from this experiment.